Now, your latest news update from Western Mass News.
Good Friday afternoon. I'm Chris Pisano with a look at your headlines. Supply chain issues and shortages already exist around the country. Now experts say some industries are about to get hit even harder due to the aftermath of Hurricane Ian. They add that supplies will need to be sent to hurricane victims, straining our resources across the U.S. Many people are talking about the latest results of the standardized tests given to public school students in Massachusetts, known as MCAS. Overall results, when compared to pre-pandemic levels, show a continued need for improvement, which the president of the Massachusetts Teachers Association says isn't surprising. And a crash involving a tractor trailer closed several lanes of traffic on both sides of I-91 in East Windsor early this morning. Troopers said the crash occurred when a driver lost control and struck the tractor trailer. The truck then hit the center median and at one point straddled the divider. The driver of the car was issued an infraction and taken to an area hospital with minor injuries.
Our First Alert meteorologist Don Maher. As we head through the evening, we'll see some clouds continuing to move on in. In fact, as we head on into the overnight, skies are going to become mostly cloudy as the remnants of what is now Hurricane Ian begin to approach the region. That may bring the chance for a period of rainfall, basically from the Mass Pike southbound as we head through the day tomorrow. There's still going to be some dry air to our north that's going to try and prevent much of this rainfall from getting in here. But I think the further south you go tomorrow, the better chance that you will stand to see some rain showers as we head through your Saturday. It will become breezy tomorrow afternoon as well. Temperatures tomorrow, mid to upper 50s, maybe one or two locations touching 60 degrees tomorrow afternoon. Still maybe a shower around on Sunday, but looking mainly dry, still breezy. In fact, the breezy conditions will linger into the start of the work week as well before the next chance for showers comes on Tuesday.
Stay with Western Mass News on air, online, and on our app throughout the day for breaking news, weather, and exclusive content.